Supervisors.
Yes.
All right. Anybody I'm missing?
Me.
Radcliffe. Only just wishful thinking, I guess. So, all right, we have a favor. We'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion approved.
Motion by Ritchie.
I'll second.
Second by Smuck. Any further discussion? Anything else that needs to be added to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Approval of the October 19 meeting minutes.
Oh, should have gotten out to you.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by McClellan.
Second.
Second by Nearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment. Moving on. Financials.
Okay, those were also passed out, but I'm going to. So here's the budget report. General. And I did, so I've done some looking at this. We did not, so the EMPG grant, all of the money that was spent in here is from the federal grant, and that was actually in last year's budget. We didn't move it over in the budget because obviously we didn't know we were going to be this late in getting it. So that 12,600 from feds and so our number, if you remember back, probably 4 months ago, it was back when BJ was at one of our meetings, and he made the motion to increase the county's side of that to $20,000 expense. Do you guys remember that motion at that time? So we've not moved any of that. We've not moved any of that. So when you look at the EOC, EMPG federal, and EOC, EMPG match, there isn't anything there because we haven't actually moved it into the budget. We haven't moved it out of last fiscal into this year. But having gone through the numbers, looking at all of the line items that are over budget right now and all the line items that are under budget, there's only a $3,000 difference that we're over budget. So even though we've spent nearly $30,000 on this facility, we're still only $3,000 off. And that's at this point in the year. So we haven't, does that make sense? So
When does the vehicle come into account on that?
But it would have just been last week.
Yeah, that's been out. But let me see.
Allocated, let's call it.
Yes. Yeah, and that, you know, I have a vehicle. So I'm still not sure, and Jessica and Mindy and I keep going around about the reports that I get, because somehow the system that they're using will hide line items that aren't used. So like the vehicle account or the vehicle line item should have a $60,000 there, and it's not even on here because it wasn't used in this report. So when they ask for the report, it just doesn't show up. So I'm still working with them, trying to get the settings so that every time they print a report, I'm seeing all the line items, because it's really hard for me to know where I'm at if I don't know all the line items are. Because I build line items very specifically, and then all of a sudden on the next report, that line item's not there. So,
Like it's an expenditure report, not a budget status report.
yeah,
So it's only showing what you expended, not what you have.
yeah. So still working on that, but I did talk to Renee about this in the middle of the week, or last week. And we had talked about making the budget amendment now before we did the budget. But with us only $3,000 off, we got plenty of money in the budget. We can put that budget amendment off into March, April, maybe even to May, and know how much we really need to amend for, rather than just putting a general number of $32,000 or $34,000, putting that over here and then not using it. If we just take our time, we can see that it'll work out. Does that make sense? So we really are setting pretty good. The ones that you will get comment on is the employee mileage and subs. It's at $4,200. It'll probably be almost $5,000 by the time we're done. The vehicle is supposed to show up tomorrow morning. It was supposed to be here tonight so that you could see the vehicle, and there was another snafu. So what was I going with that? In that employee mileage and subs, my mileage will get cut off. But then when you go down to fuel, and I'm not sure why we did this, but there's nothing budgeted in fuel. So once the truck gets here, we'll be expending fuel money.
So that must be the column with the zero. So is that the
Yes.
column for FY20 then?
Yeah, give me a second. I can open that report up that you're looking at. This is the budget sheet they're looking at, and it's also the one you have in front of you. So the reason some of these got cut off is I probably didn't hit the right line item to make it appropriate. So if you look at the titles, the left number column is the projected 2021 budget. The second column is what will be the adjusted 1920. The third column is what we have budgeted, so that's the 1920 budget. And then the fourth column is the 1920 used. And the last column is 1819 actual. Now, I caution you on that because your 1819 year was the year where you didn't have a coordinator. Didn't sit up here.
Wow.
You know better than that. You didn't have a lot of expenses in there. So those expenses are pretty minimal. So that number is gonna look poor. I can go back to the 17-18 if you wanna see some numbers from 17-18 when Roxanne was here, and have line item numbers from that I can try and coordinate, or you just wanna call it good and move forward. Okay, I'm good with that.
Somebody else wants it.
So,
You don't want me back. Thank you, Wade.
So
I don't think he did that bad.
at this,
Thank you. Much appreciated, Scott.
I had to do a lot of hand holding, but he did okay.
Oh.
I can't even contest it. Argue that.
So we need a motion for the financials.
So moved.
Second by Williams, second by Kraus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving on, EOC upgrades. I kind of got a little bit of a view of it during the intermission, if you will. While it's on the agenda, I'm just going to comment. I think what we've accomplished here as a commission, Thomas coordinating to get an opportunity. Jody Mesh has been instrumental of lining up contractors, just getting things taken care of. Please thank him if you have the opportunity. He's been a big part of the process of getting this done. We've made leaps and bounds in just a short amount of time. Acoustically, like we talked about, there's a few things we need to address there yet. But we've held some trainings in here, have much more training already lined up and being requested. So it's going to be a great asset to not only the emergency management, but the Hardin County government for training just in the county as a whole, fire, EMS, law enforcement. It's going to be a great venue for us to utilize. It'll be out. Thomas has already got some state training, I believe, lined up, fire service training lined up. So it's going to be well utilized, a respectful facility. We've come a long way in a short amount of time. So appreciate everybody's support in getting this done.
I got rid of 1,000 feet of Cat 6.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
I got rid of 1,000 feet of Cat 6.
Yes.
That we didn't have to buy.
Yeah. 911 had purchased Cat 6 cable for 911 upgrades up there. We sent it down here and we used it up, and then,
It's that or let it collect more dust.
so I think this is a point where I want to ask this question.
Go ahead.
We talked about the acoustics in here. So we actually got a guy out of Cedar Falls to come in and that deals with acoustics across many kinds of institutions. He was here yesterday. His initial quote.
So we left with a headache.
No. Although we had a lot of people in here yesterday because they were putting everything together. This is the initial quote here.
Yeah.
$12,800.
Oh.
And it's, what it is 4x8 sheets of this sound absorbing material. It's some kind of special material. But remember that we looked at those fabric coated ones. This is not the fabric coated. It is going to be kind of a shiny finish on it because it's just the panels. It's not got the frame around it. It's not got the material on it. It will look fine looking at what he showed us. But I sent him back immediately that 22,000 was way, or I mean, 12,000 was way too much. So
That was installed though, right?
yes, that's 32 panels, 32 4x8 panels installed, 22 on the ceiling, 10 on the walls.
They fit flat on the
Yes.
ceiling.
Doesn't shock me a whole lot. I mean, we looked at doing the same thing in the jail back in the day. Acoustics were awful like this. And it's
They still
tough. They still are.
Are they suspended from the ceiling?
They are tacked or screwed or whatever. There's a system.
Like the-
Okay, so
Yeah.
if we suspend, we're going to cast shadow unless we drop a light. Then you're going to open up a whole nother expense.
So they're just mounted flush with the ceiling.
Yes.
And only 10 of them on the walls.
Yes.
Just that wall?
Around the room. 4x8 sheets. So what we talked about is 4x8, 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 4x8 in the up and down fashion, except over here, which they might get turned sideways. to do this wall over here. So let me see if I can actually pull his thing up, because
Well, as Thomas and I were talking about, so maybe it's one of those at that expense, we start kind of baby steps. Start with the walls, get a handful, and see how much that helps it out. Obviously, this is going to be a recording studio. So,
While you're looking that up, Thomas, didn't we discuss last time if it was gonna be on that wall, either the logo or the maps or something?
That was with that other design company.
Okay.
yes, that
Different product.
price was,
Much more.
so.
yeah, it was even more expensive.
We're trying to find something that takes care of the issue, but is reasonable. Everything we've added in here helps every little bit, it gets better, but it's still, especially when they're working in here, there's half a dozen, 8 of us in here. You couldn't carry on a conversation.
If you stand this thing up as the EOC, it's only gonna be worse. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not into acoustics, so what actually would probably help better first? The walls or the ceiling? Where's the echo come from?
your echo's coming from behind you.
Because we can shade out off the walls.
I think it's too tall for the ceiling. You're gonna hear a lot more around the sound. 'Cause we did it in the basement of our church at Steamboat. And our basement church ceiling is probably just a little bit above that doorway. And we did it on the ceiling and we did some on the walls, and it made a huge difference. Plus we have carpet on the floor too, and that's what you guys have here. But it made a huge difference, and it's not near as big as this one. Did you have a drop ceiling already, or was it hard ceiling like this? No, it's hard ceiling like this. And it was an echo problem in the basement. Even with a 8-foot ceiling, it was still a problem. It was still that echoey down there. Hard shell is tough, yeah. What we got were, I want to say 3x4 panels, and they were cloth. So I think they were right around $200, maybe $300 a piece.
And that's a 3x,
3x4.
Yeah.
With a bump.
so we're looking at twice that size. So this is the email I got back from him before we started the meeting, because we did talk about, can we go down to 10, cut it down to $4,000, and then see how that works. And then we can look at the next budget year. I mean,
Is this an ENPG grant thing? I mean, can the ENPG grant be used?
So was that just technologies?
yeah, it was technology.
Okay.
The county,
You
this,
mean our acoustical enhancement technology?
you right. I'm gonna send you ENPG, and
Paperwork?
you type it out.
I can sign your name as long as you can, that's fine.
Anything that was not the technology, so the wiring, the electrical, the telephone, the wiring in the floor, that all was paid for by the EMPG dollars. It was absolutely technology. Everything else that we've done had to be on the county's match side.
Well, that's not protection for the ENPG wires running through the ceiling, so nothing pierces them. I think it's LED backlights.
Kevlar panels?
Yeah, you know.
So $4,000 is where we're looking. And then if we move forward, then it'd be an additional $300 for the shipment of the next, whatever we decided. And $300 is not much for shipping another 22 panels. But this here tells us where we're at right now. So this is the expense lines. EMPG federal side, we're at 11,000. We're gonna be pushing that 12,600 pretty hard because I just got a couple of more invoices to push through. So we're gonna be pushing that 12.6 pretty hard. But as far as here, the thing I don't have a bill on yet is I don't have a bill for the electrician to have been in here for 3 days doing all of the wire. So when they came in, they strung Cat 5 from back in the back room to all these outlets, all the outlets in the floor, and then installed the TVs, installed this stuff here. So I don't have that number. Huh?
Nothing.
Coming together, quality.
Oh, that cabinet is going away, but this cabinet's going in its place.
Oh, that's much.
Oh, all right.
But I wasn't gonna put it over there. This is gonna be a Matt thing, because we've got another computer, and we've got more wiring, and I was not gonna mess with it. And let Matt figure out where he wants stuff, what can be in the cabinet, what can't be in the cabinet, and then cut the holes and stuff like that. So, so we do have room yet.
I'm confident is the acoustic guy that's gonna solve the problem.
He was pretty confident.
Yeah, okay.
Because he ran it, I mean, he took it back to Waterloo, and then he called the company that it comes from. They ran the size of the room, the flooring, the sheetrock. They ran that through their computer to know how much, because he could measure how much echo we had, and we had 3 seconds of echo. So every time you say something, it's out here for 3 seconds. And he thought we could cut that down to less than 1 second.
With 32 panels.
Yes.
Why are the panels so small?
Huh?
Why are the panels so
They're
small?
4 foot by
4 foot by 8 foot?
That's not small.
No, that's like a sheet of
That's-
paper.
That's a.
I'm just thinking, yeah,
It's
okay.
handy.
Well, they won't be small on the walls, but I'm just thinking there's a lot of.
I mean, if you look at the crappy sheetrock work on the ceiling, you go between the joints.
It actually will cover the sheetrock problem. So there's one more report I have for you.
So it's only 3 seconds. Usually when you talk to me, it's like, it waits for about 6 months.
See what I put up with on a daily basis?
I was thinking if we could turn your new car when it gets here, and parks on Uber. Oh, yeah, that's what.
Oh, yes. Outside the box, I like that.
I'm just thinking outside the box. I don't like this.
So I'm, hold on, actual opinion from everybody. I'm not overly surprised by the $12,000 bill on 32 panels. To me, it just doesn't seem like, oh, that's way beyond what I was thinking. That's kind of what I was thinking, because in my own head, I'm thinking 10,000. So it's a little over that, but is anybody like really like amazed, like, oh God, it's that much? I'm not.
I'm not that amazed. I'd be curious to see what they look like, though. I'm sitting here trying to think of 4x8 shiny panels all over
Yes.
this room, and it just sounds really kind of
Are they
weird.
gonna color code it? Are they gonna match?
They actually
No.
suggested not doing that, because you're not gonna match it perfectly, and that almost looks worse.
So we decided on white.
Just simply because of the trim, the outlets, everything else is white.
Well, to me, just to think of 4x8 panels all over this room that are white, it just, to me, just sounds like a lot, and it almost sounds like a visual nightmare. You know, to walk in and have
Can you
like
hang
panels all over everywhere.
And like, would you hang the maps over top of those things, or?
I can't tell you now.
So maybe that would probably be used to where they're out of the way,
Because
to see that face.
I know exactly where it's.
It's not-
I think we talked about,
It's not,
like,
it's not shiny, but it's,
Not the cloth.
But so look at it this way. Look at that white board right there. Okay? Now picture having that all over the place. And I just think,
Or maybe we start with the ceiling.
it just sounds
And
kind
then see
of,
what that does, because that actually might even add some lighting in here, light, it's got a shinier texture, reflecting light down, and it's not, I know where exactly where it's gonna look like some gaudy.
He can send that.
They can do a drawing of it, do a sample like.
I tried,
Would you say you guys paid for your payments?
I think it's $200 a piece, but don't quote me on it.
but if they were how big a foot, that's.
Ours is half the size.
These would be about.
Mine is half as, mine is half as small.
These would be about $375 a piece, so.
What kind of things they put in it?
I don't even, I just looked online, it's,
Well,
where's the
I
money?
know like when we built our golf course out there in Acton, we have those, they look.
Where,
paved
not only
and they-
price online, it's how we pay for these if we're in before.
They actually don't work with
That's where we're kind of at, we want to start.
the acoustics in there is horrible.
Do we have the money in the water to use?
Yeah, in the, yeah.
we will have to do a budget amendment. But here's the fund balance right now. So,
When's the fiscal year?
June 30th.
June 30th.
So this number is the fund balance and add 75,000 to that. What I found out was, because it looked weird that we only had $685 in revenue. What hasn't happened and what did happen the other day is that $75,000 from the county was transferred over to the account because it hadn't been transferred yet this fiscal year. So the number is 75,000.
I'm like Raymond,
So it'd
no
be-
question.
So it'd be like 277.
75,000 maybe. This one?
Well, yeah, it depends on what one you're
223
looking at.
sitting on.
Yeah, the ending would be 223.
That's that 3 second equity there.
Dave's working off a different.
Always.
So it's easy for, we could all just start saving up our egg cards.
Where did my budget go?
Stick those in.
I got a dozen already.
So here's our budget report. And so we take the ending balance. And then we take 126. Y'all got calculators right there. You can be doing this.
So budget starts July 1, right?
Yeah.
So we're not halfway through it yet.
Or
Almost 5 months in. The current month.
I've done, if I look at that right, if you take the 126 away from the 223, I'm coming up with about $97,000 as an ending fund balance. 97,000. That would give us that's our beginning balance then for the next fiscal. So even if you took the 12,000, well, even if we took 20,000, because we know we're still spending money in here. So if you put 20,000 in there, you're going to cut this down to 77,000. And our original budget, it looked like we were only going to end up with 23,000.
how many did they say they were putting on the ceiling?
22.
Like your idea, maybe.
It's gonna be-
First and see what that does.
Because that might cure a problem.
I asked him to make sure they were down between the lights.
My thing is, everything we've done in here, the last thing I want to do is what Pat's thinking too, is come in here and all of a sudden,
Yes.
Like, yeah,
looks like
I mean,
some other part of
it's
the
a cool place to walk
So-
into and, state of the art. And then don't want to see a bunch of white
Right.
panels just randomly all over everywhere. So I can see
That's-
maybe doing them on the ceiling, because if they can keep them so that they look proportionate in line, all lined up the same spacing and everything, you know, it might be enough to do it, but
That'd be $8,800.
Now, did that go all the way over the storage area, or did that stop?
I
I don't know.
You start
It's floating there, I'm
figuring a
thinking.
panel of 4 by 8. So this room is about 40 feet long.
Well, there's marks in the ceiling every 4 feet across.
It's a nice way to put that, yeah.
We knew they did that for a reason.
What a handy feature.
so then when they were in here, were they talking about, I mean, you're sitting, you got all these lights and you got those little,
There'd be about 4, there's probably 4 panels, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's 24.
Yeah, so we're probably against that wall, down that line, down this line. So to be just about at least as I'm looking at it, it'd be just about 4 panels end to end, right down between the lights.
32 feet.
I'm sorry?
That'd be 32 feet just spaced in between. One line. So remind me, I think Carrie talked about why we have to amend our budget already this year without these panels.
We may have to amend our budget because of the grant dollars. The 20,000 was in last fiscal, so we haven't moved it over. It was in the budget for last year. We didn't use it, so it really needs to come over to this year. But if we don't have to bring it over, there's no reason to bring it. Does that make sense? Because our balance carries over. It doesn't zero out.
I think that's
Carries over. So all it does is if we end up with 60,000 left, then all we have to look at is when we're doing our budgeting, where do we want the end of the next fiscal to look like?
And we're getting $75,000 a year for the county. That's our-
That changes. That changes according to what the budget looks like.
That's our only source of income. Sorry. That's our only source of income.
Yes. Now, I say that, but there is the other source, and that is that I apply for the EMPG dollars. And this year, if you look at the budget sheet in front of you, so my salary this year was 50,000, and I put a 2% increase on it, and then split it down, and we can, so our EMPG grant this year will be 24,000 some odd dollars, between 24 and 25,000. So that comes in, as long as the federal government doesn't decide to just all of a sudden shut off.
Does that usually come? I mean, when do you usually know?
So I'm gonna, the application for 1920, and we've already started 19, the application for that will come out the end of this month or the beginning of next month. And then we get that application in and see that everything looks good. Typically, the federal government will award that about April or May of 20. And then we will not see that money until the next fiscal, because we go to the federal fiscal goes to October.
Right.
Does that make sense? So the grant that's paying for this was ended on October 1, but I've asked for an extension until December 1 so that we can get all of this in. And then I'll submit the final report, and then they'll cut the check for the $10,628. It's a little weird because the federal government works off of October to September. We work off of July 1 to June 30, and then when the government does what they do, we don't ever know until April, May, whether even the funds are going to be there.
I think I'd like to see us start with the ceiling, spend the $8,800 and do the ceiling and see what that looks like and see how much it works before we start plastering those all over.
And I'm fine with that because the other is that way that gives us the walls to put.
Right,
We've got,
talked about, large maps or whatever on there. Let's put them on the ceiling, and whoever made that comment, I had to look. It would cover up the bad seal. Sheetrock.
Yeah, but I'm not concerned what it looks like. I mean, it's a commercial building. It's not a fancy house. You don't want it to be bad by any means, but once again, we need to figure out where the money's coming from first before we figure out that we're going to do this.
Well, that can't come out of the MPG anyway, because that's the technologies is all that. So it would be ours out of, what our ending fund balance would be 8,800 less than what we're currently projecting. Start off the next year.
It would be over budget then for this fiscal.
right, yeah. Typically, you end up with a budget amendment anyway. No matter what.
Savings.
Because this it carries over.
Right.
So I'm like.
It doesn't go into a general fund.
No.
Yep.
No, under Iowa code, it has to stay in its own fund.
Well, I definitely like to see the acoustics taken seriously because it is tough to use this room, particularly in an emergency or training or anything. So whatever.
Well, and if you guys listen to the last YouTube video of our meeting, you couldn't understand 90% of it.
Where was this company out of?
Cedar Falls.
IDEA?
Is it worth getting competitive bids on this or?
You got one from a different company, which was significantly higher, but it was kind of a different product that we were looking at as well.
And actually, when we brought that, then it was, the question was, who's closer, or.
Yeah, you have to compare apples to apples.
So this is Artisan Ceilings out of Waterloo. And I had them pulled up so I can show you what they've already done. Oh, by the way, you guys are on camera. The security system got put in. So cameras outside on both doors, and then camera in here and camera out on the garage. So
Oh, shoot.
here is all the ones that they've done.
They show pictures of some of them?
No,
What they do is the Ellsworth Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ellsworth Hospital up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing because most of those architects for the hospitals build all those big
I mean,
high
I'll
vaulted.
show a picture of what they did up there, or, oh,
Uh-huh.
Are those clickable links?
No,
See what they are?
No.
I'd really like to see the UNI Redeker Center. That's
The what?
See how they did that?
well, let's take a look. What was it?
Redeker Center, dining hall.
Space in there.
People who can spell anything terrible.
So by only doing the ceiling, what was the decibel or the cut down?
That, I don't
Was it
know.
still under a second?
No, it wouldn't be under a second, but it would be considerably less, obviously, because there's 22 of them instead of, I mean, that's over half of the room covered
The
in
original
material.
was like 30. Full
32.
32, and so we go 10 less, 22 in ceiling.
Yes.
30%, 33% less.
Reddiker's Reddker. RAD. You and I.
Is he able to give you that information? What the cut down would be?
I can ask him.
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what you can have for lunch.
We can, well, let me go back to his email and see if he's, it was a office phone, so. I'm guessing if we, 2/3 of the project, we should cut down on sound in here considerably.
Yeah, right. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just curious what the actual, what his math would find out. Because that's our goal. We don't care. I mean, the goal isn't to improve the looks of the space. The goal is to improve the acoustics of the space, right? We don't want to, not saying we need to harm the look, but yeah, the goal is the acoustics. Right, the focus.
If we can get a couple other estimates, because there's a handful of places in the Waterloo Cedar Falls area, the Moline area. So
should we table this and you get some other estimates, then some more information on the actual sound cut downs, and see if everybody can provide those different information with their prices.
And maybe if they can give you an idea of how much the sound would be cut down if you did just put them on the ceiling.
Right. So I'm saying, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
yeah, they're a vendor.
Give us a price and then how much each package would cut down the sound, Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be other places.
Any other discussion on upgrades, EOC upgrades, where we're at? So, all right, moving on. B, medical examiner discussion.
So this was a discussion that Renee and I had. This was a discussion that we had at the last commission meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago. Just wanting to clarify, because there was some discussion about putting money over to my salary, just including medical examiner in my job. But with EMVG money coming in, then you have to be very specific about what that money is actually paying for and trying to mix that money. The other was, it's cleaner for the county to keep track of their $200 fee and their mileage. And we already approved that if I was working, using the county vehicle was fine. And Dave and I have talked about this, Renee and I have talked about this, that being able to just clock off, because I'm on the radio, I can tell them that I'm going 42 as EMA, going 1041 as the MEI, and then take that time and then come back. The other concern was about the hours I was putting in. And at this point, my average is somewhere around 120 to 140 hours in 2 weeks, so we don't really have to worry about that at this point. I can tell you I'm not taking off to go. It's not like I'm short on that. So,
My 2 cents on this whole thing, if you're willing to do it and help out the county, I'm fine with that. I just don't know that it needs to be an EMA issue per se. From the reimbursement, like you said, it does affect the MPG grant. That being said, I don't see the point of, if Marla's gone out of town, Chelsea's not available, you're the only run as the last resort as previously discussed. You're sitting here at your office, and there's a death in Radcliffe that you have to drive to Acton, get your personal vehicle to drive to Radcliffe. I mean, that's all you're doing is holding up law enforcement, EMS, or fire if it's a fatality, whatever. So you're still doing county business.
Well, and the other is, I mean, the question of the vehicle, even when I'm off, if I'm at home and there's an ME call, we're just not charging mileage. Is it really that much difference to just drive across the county with the county vehicle as opposed to charging mileage to the process? That's a question, but.
That one, I could see the argument of you using the personal vehicle, because then you smoke a deer, which I haven't done about 3 a day right now, I think that, but, so I could see somebody making that argument. If you're currently on duty in your EMA role on a normal business day, and you're the only one available, I don't see the point of making you run home to get your personal vehicle, or say it's here in Eldora, you have to drive back and then back down here. That, to me, that's pointless, but I just don't know that it's feasible for the board to reimburse the commission to pay him. It's not like you're going to be handling 15 a year. I mean, I just would like to see it almost separated from the actual payment side of it. He's
That he would be paid $200.
just like Marlo or Chelsea or anybody else. And if you're off duty, the call comes in, that's you personally, because you're reimbursed for it. So I would say no county vehicle at that time. But if you're working during the normal business day, I don't see the point of juggling on vehicles when the only people ultimately who's paying the price is the family that's sitting there having the process drug out because of political issues or what vehicle do I get to drive or don't get to drive or whatever.
So you're saying he would get paid $200 every time he did it? And use the county vehicle if he's on duty, use his own personal, if he's off duty.
If he's on duty, you're going to pay the fee, but no mileage. If he's off duty and he has to come from Acton to Radcliffe, you're going to pay his fee plus mileage like you currently. That's my 2 cents. I'm not.
I mean, I will say there will be a comment as far as, so he's getting paid his salary plus the $200 to do that during work hours.
Well, he's going to go off duty for EMA for that 2-hour window or whatever it takes to.
No different than any other salary person. If I was a salary person from Marshall County and I was a medical examiner, I'd still be getting my salary.
Right.
As long as it's 40
He's
hours.
a salary employee, so he can go off duty.
As long as it's 40 hours a week are being met as the EMA coordinator, whether it's,
Doesn't matter what time of day it is.
14 hours in one day and 6 the next. What I mean, if his hours are being met, his hours are being met. That's on me to month. So if it's,
I mean, I'm not.
No, right.
I'm just
yeah.
telling you what's going to come up.
But as long as he gets 40 hours a week, we have no say in what he does with the rest of the time.
Right.
So
How he earns that 40 hours, we really don't have a set time for him, do we?
Say that.
On how you earn your 40 hours, we don't have a set time though, right? It's like core hours.
Yeah.
4 hours?
he's not like an 8 to 4
Right.
hours.
Because there could be a time that you have to start at 8 p.m. and don't get off till 8 a.m. You don't even come into work the next day because you worked your 12-hour shift right there.
Yeah, so I would agree with what you have to say about this.
But I think that the blessing that this commission would have to basically agree upon is when he's on duty as our EMA, and he calls in every morning, goes on duty on the radio, goes off duty every night. During that course, he could use that vehicle to respond to an ME call. Once he's step 42, he's sitting at home and gets the call, then it's on you as an individual. EMA has nothing to do.
I just to clarify, would like to have that a motion and a second in the minutes of what.
I make said motion as stated by Chair McDaniels.
Motion by Kraus, second by Ritchie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. C, outdoor signage action item.
All right, so
Oh, he's got it.
I think I sent it out to you, but, Wade has done the footwork on the sign from the plastics recycling in Owl Falls. Excuse me. And it is more expensive. Oh, wrong one, sorry.
Crime scene photo?
I believe so.
It's upside down.
Oh,
So I tried
okay.
to figure out how to rotate it.
Do you have the other sample ones? I didn't get that in my email. The other ones I gave you, Thomas.
So, yes.
Is that really, yeah, that's hard.
So while he's going together that, what this is out of plastic recycling up there in North and Iowa Falls. It's that composite, like what they do. Although I think most of our county parks have the signage made out of that, picnic tables, heavy duty. It's one of those, you put it up, you're never gonna really have to maybe power wash it off, but, once or twice a year, but pretty weather resilient.
You said they recently redid something on like a painting or something up
They
there?
redid our,
Yeah.
they cleaned our bench off, and then they actually took our 8-foot by 30-foot sign, redid it.
They sent these, I didn't scan them all in, so you guys can look through this. You guys know what the signs from the plastic, all the park signs in Hardin County uses all of the conservation signs. And then this company told Wade that they actually have done several other counties' signs for the emergency management. And
Did they say which ones, out of curiosity? Did they say which ones they've done?
No, if Jane did, I missed it.
That's fine.
The only reason she did is because she already had this in her computer. It just changed Hardin. So I know there's at least one out there they've done, but
so we talked about in the other one, and I got that, let me see if I can pull it up. So this is the one that, Marshall, the outfit out of Marshalltown quoted us. And we've done an email string, and we had a little bit of discussion in here at our last meeting about taking the Iowa from the top and putting it down at the end on the county, which is not a problem. But the plastics place in Iowa Falls has done them for the other counties, and they already have the template that you see there, but they have it with Iowa up there. So their template that they could use already has Iowa there, and all they'd have to do is change the county.
What's cost differences in these?
what's that?
Cost differences from,
This one
Oh, these
was,
are for the composite signs.
I mean, what's this made out of? Just like a metal substrate?
yeah.
Is it lid or just
Metal and vinyl graphic, right?
I'm sorry.
Vinyl graphic?
Really the longevity of the recycling durability
Oh,
will
yes.
probably increase
Oh, yes.
quite a bit.
Well, less than any of us, I'm sure.
So if you guys all get a chance to look at theirs, and I'm not for one or the other yet at this point. The black border is on that one side, that will be on removing some letters, that's where Thomas and I can explain a little bit of the sales order that she has here. That would be the maximum. We could reduce down if we went from 6-inch letters to 5-inch. That's $1 per letter less because you're basically reducing it. If you remove letters, if they were 6-inch letters and you remove them, so you're going to take $6 off every letter. So the cost on this sales order they did, that would be the absolute maximum.
Are those letters painted? This was 400 and some. This sign was right around $500.
The one that's on the screen now?
Yes,
That's two-sided,
yes,
not lit.
not lit.
The other one from plastic recycling was like 1,300 or something.
Yeah, the max would be, they have 14, 17,
That was-
two-sided again.
So that's composite with paint.
Yeah, whatever they put in the,
So how often do we have to keep the paint?
No, they don't, they power washed all the stuff that we have, that the black paint never comes off. I don't know how they do the process with it.
Fade or?
It's never faded yet. Once you power wash it, it like comes back again.
Iowa Falls had their sign in front of their PD laying down. And they took it out there, power washed it, put posts on it, have it standing up.
It's good to
Looks
see.
like- Looks just like the first, like a brand new sign.
It's just
So
like,
it doesn't fade, it doesn't really fade in the sun or anything.
we haven't had any of them fade, even the benches. That,
So this looks like that would fade in the sun. Like, quick, 'cause that would be.
I think it's gonna get beat up by the weather, more so than
Yeah.
composite. And I'm with the chief. I don't care one way or other. This is just what is.
and the one there is one of the county parks, isn't it?
Yeah.
The conservation area.
So would the composite be that brown background rather than the white?
She actually did.
I don't know if they can do that
No,
composite
it
in
wasn't
white.
brown. It is gray.
Gray?
Because Jane wished she could actually like do that on her computer too. Here's what the sign's gonna look like, but they just, that isn't how their computer program runs. So when I went out there to pick this up, I said to her, I'm like, really, that's it? She's like, so she played around with colors and thought gray would be the best, making the blue and the yellow pop, black border around it, and then the two posts would be the composite black posts.
And on this one, we would also shrink the Homeland Security. So isn't this a 4? And I think we were thinking about going down to a 3 or whatever the Hardin County is, so that it's the same lower
That makes sense.
system. That makes sense.
So that would cheapen up something.
Yes, yes, it would, because we're gonna shrink the letters down by.
So we need a motion to go for one or the other.
Or any other discussion.
I'd move to go to the composite.
From plastic recycling. Second.
I have a motion by Mary and a second by Richie. Any further discussion?
On the composite one?
That's what the motion is.
Okay.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Because they offered, Thomas, do you have that other one? Because they offered a bench too. We didn't add this to it. The normal benches, with them having it set up, what was her, but we can bring it.
It's not there.
No, this one's,
That's for you.
Did they install it? Did they put that up for that Friday?
no,
Thanks, Blake. Oh, I see what you're saying. So
No, it should be there, because I didn't scan it in. Isn't it in the packet? Where's the packet?
Thank you.
Yeah, there it is. It'll be with that.
yeah, maybe we need to run back.
I didn't pick notes on that. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's.
Probably got all that.
Like the chief.
397.
It's cabinetry building, right? Cabinetry building.
Got a bench, it's right
Oh,
He builds cabinet.
he's the one that does that?
He's the one that builds cabinets in the property. Out in the province.
She threw that in.
Yeah, he's got a nice shop.
there.
Should I have?
Yeah, that's very nice.
Honey Creek and
Honey Creek, yeah, Honey Creek Manufacturing or something like that.
Well, I guess I heard of one, but I didn't. Yeah, they're okay.
because I stapled that all back together.
Yeah. We did decide to go with the composite, but there's a couple things we need actually to discuss on. When we go back and tell Jane, she's gonna need to know.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so if you can bring that back up, Thomas. We had discussions about, in the past here of how big and overbearing we thought Homeland Security was. Okay, so that's where, even though it's upside down. All right.
Give me a minute.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So when their designer, Jane Atkins, when she did that, basically Homeland Security and the address are the same size as emergency management. It's just the thickness and big, how big it is. So if we reduce, those are 6-inch letters basically that says emergency management. And the Homeland Security and the address are also 6-inch. If we reduce it down to 5, we're gonna minus that $1 per letter. If we reduce it to 4, we're gonna minus it $2 per letter all the way across. Which is why I mentioned that 1417, that's the max amount. If we decide to reduce that down a bit, it's going to be
What's the
less.
size of Hardin County?
What's that?
What's the size of Hardin County?
That is, God, I think she said it's a 2 or a 3. That one might be a 3.
How far away did you say that there's 35 letters up there in Homeland Security 1031 Edgerton Avenue? So 35 letters there versus 20, what's that say, 1 in emergency management.
But if you drop 1 inch, you lose
1 inch,
so it'd be $35 to go down to
70 bucks.
yeah, if you go down 2 inches, you save $70.
Okay,
And then you got 2 sides.
Yeah, so.
so that's $140 savings.
Dollars savings by dropping it down 2 inches.
So I think going from the top down, I think we need to decide one. Do we want Iowa, which they have in their system? Do we want Iowa up there? Or take the Iowa out of the stars
I personally like the top one where it's emergency management, Hardin County.
with no Iowa?
Everybody knows where.
I like that.
Yeah,
They know we're in Iowa.
Okay.
Could we lose Iowa, lose Homeland Security, and put Hardin County where Homeland Security is? Or does Homeland Security have to be in? So you just have emergency management and then big 6-inch letters on the bottom on where Homeland Security is, Hardin County.
I say make Homeland Security smaller for sure.
I'll say disappear it altogether.
Oh.
So right where it says Homeland Security, delete that, put Hardin County right there, 6-inch letters or whatever. That Homeland Security is in now, that size. So it's just emergency management, Hardin County, 1031 Edgerton. So you say 4, 10, 15, 16 letters totally. That's
So
about
30, yeah. So 2-sided would be $32. That'd be that same, out of the grand scheme of things. If you're 2-sided, you're $64. So, but I don't want to,
We're not saving a huge amount of money, but they're just,
The look and the flow.
that's what I'm going to say. You just don't want to so
Looks so busy.
convoluted.
Well, it does look busy, and I wonder if, and And I know we all understand, and there's a lot of people that understand, but I think there's a lot of people that aren't gonna understand if you have Homeland Security on there.
State or
That's a
federal.
lot of people off as to,
That brings
What does that
law
have?
enforcement to mind,
well, law enforcement, but it also brings like they already have that on federal level. You don't think of it on county, you know.
And you would just have the address? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it'd just be emergency management, and then Hardin County in big letters.
Scroll down.
Take Hardin County out of here
You take Hardin County off the bottom.
and put it here.
Move it down to that board where Homeland Security is.
Yeah.
And just have Hardin County, not Homeland Security, and then
Take the Iowa out.
Iowa out, Homeland Security out, and put Hardin County in place of Homeland Security.
That saves 16 letters.
Or do you just go with the top one and throw the address below?
Just,
Well,
Is
it
that-
says
that reason-
16 letters, well, okay, because you didn't say,
Because the top one and then just put the
but then
address below
Iowa,
that,
Iowa out.
because that was
Well,
the
that's
the
16.
logo.
Take Iowa out on both sides, that's 8. Difference between Homeland Security and Hardin County is only 4 letters, so that's 8. So
Okay.
8 and 8 on both sides.
when you look at that top
16
one where
total.
Hardin County's already in there, is that considered part of the logo, or are those letters considered separate?
The letters are, well, each letter is separate. It's not a one thing, so yeah, every letter
But,
counts.
but that top one matches the
But
statewide
I was gonna
logo.
say, that's the
So if we
logo.
just went
Yeah.
with that top one, then 1031 Edgington Ave.
Yeah, so
that.
I put, yeah, leave Hardin County up under the logo, since it's part of the logo, and then just take that little extra line out of there.
If we take Homeland
Take this out, this out.
we'll have a blank space.
Well, yeah.
They can just
Well, they can't.
Otherwise,
Those lines,
otherwise,
move Edgington up.
how wide are these boards?
6 or 12.
I'm sorry.
2-inch by 10-inch.
On each side, that's
Take Homeland Security out,
There's two.
that would be, just make.
We just take that whole panel out.
And that's what I'm saying, is it just, all it'd do is make it a 3-foot sign instead of a 4-foot sign.
Okay.
So then it's 3 by 6 instead of 4 by 6.
I think the simpler you make it, it's better for people to read it.
People have
But
trouble
just-
reading anyways, and driving down the road at speed.
What they're gonna go by is more the logo than anything else, so I think you put emergency management Hardin County, and then just the address.
So we're good with this, what she has on top.
The logo.
Yeah. Yes, and
And
then just put the
basically,
address.
we're gonna remove
that one
Maybe
page.
that third plan.
So
Yeah, so that should save us too, not
The
putting
logo and the
that.
address. Yep. Is what we're talking about.
Logo address.
The logo and then the address.
So you're gonna save on the size
Yeah.
too.
Because that's gonna be 32 letters. Well, 16 on one side, 16 on another that we're saving on.
Plus the entire plan.
Plus the entire plan.
You already have. So
You-
So does that?
That sounds good to me.
Does that doesn't need to be in a motion, amended to the motion. does it?
no, unless, but the only thing I can tell you, it's going to be whatever we did, unless we made it bigger, it's going to be less than 1417.
The motion was on the composite versus the
Okay.
metal.
Yeah.
That's remaking, so
I think we got.
Bigger, then it's
Like that. So if you need another motion, make a motion that we use just the logo with Hardin County, part of the logo, and the address.
We're gonna reduce it from the 4 foot to the 3.
Take out,
do we have a second?
Sure.
it's-
Motion by Days, second by Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business, basic plans and ESFs 2, 5, 10, 15.
I sent all of that out to you. At some point, I will get you I'll get you the basic plan and the 15 ESFs all on a thumb drive that you can each have for your communities. But it is long, arduous. I don't know that you want to spend time going through each of those documents tonight. What I do have to have is I do need a motion that the Hardin County Emergency Management Commission, oops, sorry. you certify the plans, the basic plan, ESF 2, ESF 5, ESF 10, 14, and 15, that as they were changed and adopted, and I've sent them out to you as revised, that you guys approve that plan. That needs a motion because I have to turn a paper into.
Make that motion.
Motion by Kraus,
Second.
second by McClellan. Any further discussion?
Do you make the
You don't have
correction?
14 on here.
Yeah, 14's not on the, you don't have 14 on your agenda.
They don't?
Not on the agenda, it's not.
I didn't have 10 in my.
It's all right.
The only discussion I have is you add Steamer Rock first responders to that list.
I think I did.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at it. And I know that I question that. It's just
Just a quick look here.
a simple overlook.
Which ones are gonna be in?
Trying to think of my tenure as EMA, what ESF that was, but off the top of my head, I can't remember.
What's that?
Which one that would be, where you have
What Scott's looking for.
where you have that.
I don't remember. So I'm gonna have to, do you remember which one it was in, Scott?
Communications.
It was on the 15, but I don't know if it was on the revised one.
Oops, wait a minute. One. So some of the changes, just to give you a general in what I've changed on a lot of these plans. Number one was getting the Hardin County Emergency Management changed so that it's consistent across all of the plans. And then a lot of these, for some reason, had just general. So it was like municipal departments, fire departments, the county, whatever, and it was like, that's not quite right. I added it so that it was very specific, that the departments were outlined in here. And that's why Scott caught that in here, is that.
That I was on 5, sorry.
Oh,
ESF 5
On the 5,
Yeah, so I'm just getting into that right now.
as first responders. It has municipalities of Steamer Rock, it has volunteer fire department, and emergency medical services does not have it as first responders.
That steamboat
you know what page you're on?
there. Forward. ESF right there.
Right at the bottom of that, scroll down. There you go.
One more. Yeah, 'cause you guys will, if you're first on scene, you're gonna render medical. Yeah. He's got in there as well, Thomas. Okay.
Or is he gonna be in the county? Because he falls under. Because you got local police departments. Is the E squad considered part of the county department?
Yeah, there.
The supporting agents there.
I'd say maybe, I would scroll up.
Get over there, somebody.
Thank you.
Yeah, water, no, that was fine.
Should East Quad fall under somewhere as a support agency?
He's gonna be one.
I mean,
Oh,
it's a county department.
oh, yeah. So it's Hardin County. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that's a separate. We don't need this, we're not north and south or anything, we don't, okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Scott, that issue's been added, that's corrected. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Motion carries. B, mitigation plan review document.
Okay. So this is another one that ended up because I don't know where it's at. I've got a copy of it. All right. Because the county was under a federal declaration, part of that declaration is a requirement that the county does a mitigation plan review. The mitigation plan was approved back in 2018, so we don't have to rewrite the plan. I also went a step further than was required. So I actually met with the city of Iowa Falls at their council meeting, and I met with Hardin County Board of Supervisors and went over their sections of the mitigation plan and what is required now. Your letter still went to Homeland Security. I just got a phone call about that. They got that. So what this says, I'm just going to read it to you because I can't find it on my computer. Iowa Administrative Code, Chapter 605, Chapter 7, requires the mitigation plan and recovery plan of the county comprehensive emergency plan to be reviewed and amended as appropriate, certified, and submitted to the department for approval with 180 days of formal closing of the disaster incident period for a presidential disaster declaration. Disaster 4421 incident period was formally closed on June 15. Certifications must be submitted to Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management by December 12. Hardin County Emergency Management Commission certifies the mitigation plan of Hardin County Comprehensive Emergency Plan has been submitted to Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management within the last 5 years, which we've covered that, and has been reviewed and amended as appropriate following Presidential Disaster 4421 and remains compliant with Iowa Code and standards adopted by Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management. The mitigation plan has been approved and adopted by the members of the local or joint emergency management commission. That's the first portion. The second portion is that the Hardin County Emergency Management Commission certifies the recovery plan, which is ESF 14. And we've amended that, so I will send that in with this document also. Sorry, lost it. Recovery plan of the Hardin County Comprehensive Emergency Plan has been submitted to Iowa Homeland Security within the last 5 years and has been reviewed and amended as appropriate. The recovery plan has been approved and adopted by the members of the local or joint emergency management commission. So there's two different things. We need, we can put it in one motion that the Hardin County Emergency Management Commission certifies the comprehensive emergency plan, mitigation, and recovery. And then Dave and I'll sign off on both of those. There's two sections for us to sign off on.
We need to make a motion on that.
So moved.
Certified.
Thank you.
Second, 7.
And I'll write it into the, I'll write the specific language into the motion. Okay.
A second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. C, 5-year strategic plan discussion.
All right. Yeah, this So I think I sent this out to you guys in your emails. Hopefully.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. So, second. Apparently, okay. So this is the current year, and this is the stuff that I'm going to put into the application for the EMPG for the current year. I know that doesn't make any sense.
Fiscal year of 2021?
Federal fiscal year 1920. So EOC training, complete the EOC exercise and training facility. We're getting there. That'll be done. Review of ESF. So this is coming up. We will do this from now until September 30 of 2020. Start the NIMS education process. I plan on doing ICS 100, 200, 700 for all the agencies in the county. How many of you actually did those as a face-to-face back when you were required, or did you do them online?
Ours have been face to face.
I did it online.
Face to face.
Yeah, exactly.
Ours was face to face during, for fire departments, it's face to face firefighter one. It was part of our training.
I did mine online.
I'm sorry.
I did mine online.
So what my plan is to bring people in, and I've talked to Renee a little bit about this. Right now, there is no staffing for the EOC. Nobody's been trained how to work in the EOC. There's no, so you back up. Up in Franklin County, what we did with the EOC staffing was train the auditor, the recorder, the treasurer, those people that are already county employees and have some skills that we need inside the EOC. The auditor and the treasurer, they're great finance people. The recorder, they're great at logistics. They can be trained to do the logistics and keep paperwork and document stuff. That's their job. Then sheriff, police departments, mayors, that kind of stuff. A board of supervisor member needs to be in here. So what I want to do is get to the point where once this is ready, to start scheduling classes so that we can bring those people in on the blessing of the supervisors, obviously, that we can bring them over here and start training them in what's the tasks that need to be done in the EOC. And starting with 100, 200, and 700, obviously. But work our way through that process. It is not going to get done in a year. I can just tell you that. But in the future, the way I would like this to look is that the EOC staff meet once a month and we go over training. We go over the forms that we're going to use in an incident. We go through a scenario and ask them to do the paperwork, do the messaging, so that they can kind of keep up on it. Right now, the way we would staff the COC is I'd probably end up calling coordinators from out of the area to come in and assist, and calling the state incident management team in, which incident management team does an okay job, but they're not an EOC staff that knows the local people. So hosting the hazmat ops and 2 hazmat refreshers in the county, that will come from the hazmat team out of Waterloo. That is a grant funded process. I just have to make sure it gets coordinated and the classes get offered in the county. I also have to have 30 hours of continuing education, so I put a couple of the classes in there. Alert Iowa. This is within days of being done. I just did an email to Nick Travarka today. It's ready to go live. So I will show you what that page looks like. Oops. So this is the mass notification system. The page, this will be the page that everybody can go to sign up to get in the mass notification. Obviously, it's going to say Hardin County, not Franklin County. Then as you go down through here, the phone number, I changed my mind on this as I reflected on this in conversations. The phone number that it's going to come from. So you get a text message or a storm alert, or we send out something from the sheriff's office and everybody's phone blows up. The text, the number that's going to come out on the text will be my office phone, and it should show emergency management. It should show Hardin County Emergency Management if they've got caller ID. The problem was I didn't like this 555-555 idea, because if it comes to you as if you sign up as a phone call, you want the phone call rather than a text message, then when you pick up your phone starts ringing and it has that odd number on it, you're probably not going to answer it. So if it comes up with my office phone and it's ID'd as Hardin County Emergency Management, you're probably going to pick that phone call up.
Answer that you want your extended car warranty to continue.
Is that something similar to what we had with like Code Red?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Although this is free,
And Code Red was, it costs money to have the program, right? Okay.
We also made it so that people could put in up to 3 numbers under one address. So now you and your wife and one of your kids can have a phone under one address.
I pick up a favorite now.
Which one's gonna make more money?
You gotta pick out his favorite child. It's also going to be that you could take the choice of text or voice. Obviously, if it's going to the white page phone, it's going to go voice. When I'm out promoting it, and what I'm going to send out is asking people to do it by text. If it goes by voice, the problem that comes up with voice happened in Blackhawk County when we first started this. And the storm warnings go out, and if you don't answer your phone, then it comes back to you and it tries your phone number 3 times. So what happened was those phones that were all voice, and it was the whole county, it ended up getting looped for so long that by the time the last storm warning had moved along that city of Waterloo, it was an hour later that some of those people were getting their last phone call. So if it goes by text, it just goes. Within minutes, everybody gets it. So that's what we're going to be doing. You can also put it to your email. So if you're more at your email and not around a cell phone, you can certainly do it to email. I have it come to everything in every direction.
Are all these manually triggered?
Yes.
So these come from NOAA? I mean, are you?
No, so here's the ones that are, so this section here, you can select for optional warnings. All users will automatically receive anything that we list out as a hazardous materials. So we go in and we're putting out a hazardous materials alert, an evacuation order, or a shelter in place. That's going out to every phone whether you like it or not. These are the ones that you can choose. The other side of this, and I have to do this on the back side. So I really don't care about a hard freeze warning. Well, let me go to a different one. Let me go to heavy.
Flowers,
Yes, there is, I mean, there's a reason why it's left there, but heavy snow. When I first opened this up in Franklin County, my phone was going off at 2 o'clock. Both my phones were going off at 2 o'clock in the morning that there was going to be heavy snow. So I was woke up just to be told there's going to be heavy snow.
And who triggered that?
The
Snow.
National Weather Service.
Okay, so the NOAA triggered.
Yes,
That's NOAA?
yes.
Okay.
But what I did was go back, and the same thing with a blizzard. Do I care that there's a blizzard warning at 2 o'clock in the morning? I do when I wake up, but I don't care about it at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the alerts, some of these I will go back in and they will be shut off from 11 o'clock at night until 5 o'clock in the morning. So then at 5 o'clock in the morning, if there's been something come out, winter storm warning, comes out at 2 o'clock in the morning, they typically, National Weather Service puts their warnings out at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're absolutely routine on that. But I have them shut off so that they don't buzz our phones. At 5 o'clock in the morning, your phone is gonna go off with that warning.
Oh, get up there.
You're well in the winter.
The same way with the watches. The watches typically are shut off from 10 or 11 o'clock until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Even tornado?
No, tornado, well, the tornado, yeah, the tornado watch, I don't shut that down. But it's the stuff that I mean, windshield watch. If I'm sleeping, I don't care.
So you're talking about this happens only if you check those boxes.
Yes. So you have to decide whether you want this information in the first place. And then when you check that you get that information, I'm on the back side as the administrative side saying, this is ridiculous to get woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because what was happening was people were calling my office and saying, take me off that damn thing. But we don't want them off of it. We can control how much nuisance it is.
So my question is, how is this going to be disseminated to everybody when it comes out?
Multiple ways. So first of all, number one, it'll go out on Facebook, it'll go on the website, it'll go out through a press release, it'll go out and it'll be actually this logo here will be on the county's webpage, it will be on my webpage, my sub webpage, whatever it is. It'll go to the sheriff's webpage if he so chooses. It can be on you guys' city pages so that your citizens can just go to your webpage, click on Alert Iowa. Then my plan is that I get material from the state of Iowa. So I will have some table tents that I can take out and put in restaurants. There is press releases that come from them. Those can be sent out to all the media. There'll also be posters, so we can take them out to the communities like the gas station and Steamboat. We can put it on the public notice place.
Can that be sent, when it says Hardin County, can that be sent to the schools? And the reason I ask that is because we have a grading system that they can put an attachment on and shoot it out to all the parents. So that's another way through the school system. It's called JMC, that, you know, if you wanted that, because we cover Franklin, Butler, Grundy, and Hardin. in our school district.
So putting it out to sign up,
However you want to be notified, like, you know, she asked, how are people gonna be inundated with this information? That's one way. If it can be sent email and you're asking the
Yes.
superintendent
yes,
to have the secretary send it out through the JMC,
yeah,
you can attach that to an email and send it out to all those people anyway. For signing up, doing what you need to do.
okay.
Just
Yeah, so we'll use whatever avenues we can come up with.
And I think we'd expect or hope that a lot of the members of this commission will go back to their community saying, hey, here it's up and running, encourage people to sign up. We do a senior fair every June, which usually gets anywhere from about 150 to 180 seniors that attend. I mentioned today, maybe check with IT, see if we could have some of our staff. IT gets a handful of laptops just throughout the course of the fair, senior fair. People come up and we can hammer it out for them because it's a great thing, but if nobody's signing up, it's pointless.
It's already live for Hardin County. He's already made it live today.
Oh,
Okay.
So you just go to your website.
It's not there yet. Well,
It's taking us a lot.
I only got so many hours in today, and I had to spend 2 hours up at Iowa Falls trying to help educate the sheriff and the chief of police up there.
We ran that show.
ouch.
We ran the show.
So I've already had a conversation with the Kiwanis. They told me when this is live, let them know, and I can go back there. I can sit there with a laptop and I can have every person, I can just do it for them, or give them the information and they can do it themselves. What I did 2 weeks ago with the Kiwanis, there's also a process on your phone where you can put your medical information and who you want notified in emergency and stuff like that. None of them knew about that. So I sat there for another half hour after their meeting, doing that for every single one of those people in their Kiwanis meeting over here at the bank. Now, if you pick up one of those, if somebody goes to one of those people, puts emergency, tries to get into an emergency call,
It's ICE in case of emergency.
but all the new phones now have the medical information. So you can have what's wrong with the person, you can have who their contact is.
You don't have to have my PIN again.
No, not on the emergency. So there's lots of things out there. So the other piece of this is I will be coming to the city council meetings. I will need to be on your agendas for two things. This whole project's kind of winding down, so I just need another project to just keep me crazy busy. But I have about a 20 to 30 minute presentation on what's the government's role in emergencies. It's a little handout book.
Well, not real comforting.
Actually, Ben, could you go in my office and right on the opposite side of that desk is a whole stack of those books. Yeah, I've been in a council meeting like that, and one of the councilmen came and glued at me because he hated the government, and I was in a suit, and so I told him.
Council members who works for government.
Yeah, it's the government.
Please check it.
He was pissed. Let me go back to this for one more thing. Down here at the bottom. Now, so this is the other thing that I want to do. The communities. So this is a discussion that we still need to flesh out some, but each community now can use this as their mass notification system for their community. So, Owasso, we got a member in Owasso. He can call Dave or I. We can go in here, type the message, and send it to the citizens of Owasso, as long as they're signed up. Same way with Steamboat Rock, any of your communities. Pat, you and I have talked about this some as a mass notification system for your city. So we, I want to come talk to the city council about what this is and what the extent of the use can be. Because it's limited, and one of the reasons Dave and I talked about probably just vetting the information before it goes out, rather than giving every city clerk access to the system and being able to type a message, is that way we can vet the message before it goes out on the system. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Not that we don't trust your cities, but it's just a way to make sure that we're meeting the federal guidelines and the state guidelines and how the system's used. And then at the bottom, I've talked to public health about this. We also are requesting if they have special needs, if it's that they're an assistive electrical device, deaf or hearing impaired, the things that are listed here, they can click that. It's confidential. The only way to get to that information is for Dave or I, as administrators, to go into the system and pull up a list of those people. And then when we start looking at what the area of disaster is, say we know that there's a power outage and it's covering this area, we can go in here and go, you know what? Mr. Jones is out there and he's got an oxygen machine. He does have some cylinders, but if power is going to be out for 4 days, he probably doesn't have enough cylinders to make 4 days. So we're going to have to make a way to get to him. Yes.
Some guy died.
Yes. So that's added in here. Then your street address has to be a valid address. The other thing is that you can, everybody in here lives and works in your communities. Actually, Scott, where do you teach?
Wellsburg.
So you're in.
I'm in Grundy County.
So you could actually go in here and sign up for Grundy County alerts and put the school address so that you know if something's happening in Grundy County.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
And all you need to do is go back up here to the top at the line.
Yeah.
And instead of Hardin, put Grundy.
Okay.
And then you can go into their webpage, use their school address.
Okay.
But for me, say I live in Radcliffe, but I work in Iowa Falls. I work at the hospital. So I want to get the information for Radcliffe, but I also, because I'm in Iowa Falls, I want the information for Iowa Falls. The other side is, Eldora, New Providence is the school district, I think, right?
South Hardin, yeah. Radcliffe, Hubbard, Providence, and Eldora.
Oh, all
All.
okay. So you might want to know what's going on in Eldora. If your kid's at a school in Eldora, but you live in Hubbard and your kid's being transported to Eldora, you want to know what's going on in Eldora. So you can sign up for Eldora. You can just check that box. That way you get both your home address, and then if something's going on at Eldora, you're going to get the information from Eldora. Does that make sense how that works?
Yeah.
Now that it's live, I will start getting this out.
Want to email it to most of the emergency services. A lot of them have social media web pages.
Yes.
I just signed up at literally 2 minutes. So
He doesn't know that he's the administrator and he has to send messages out.
but you're gonna have to show them.
So anyway, that's Alert Iowa. It's up and running, but I would like to get scheduled on you guys' city council meetings to come out and talk to your city councils. Number one, So they know who I am and I know who they are. And then number two, to give them the information that's in this booklet. And then number three, to talk about what things you can do as a community for alerting your community. You know, Owassa, I think you're probably all private wells, you don't have the city water tower, correct? But Radcliffe, you have city water, right? So you obviously are going to talk about boil orders, school events. We can put, so through this, if there's an active shooter, we can send out an alert to the community, stay inside.
Way's gonna come outside.
Wade talked about it today up at Iowa Falls at Scenic Manor. If they have a escapee from the Scenic Manor,
Somebody's got this, they don't escape from the care facility. But it's-
Stay inside.
you can put this out. Mr. Brown is missing. He was last seen wearing. Please look for him. If you see this person outside your house, call. The same way with children. We got a missing child, we can blast that out to either the community or we can blast it out to the whole county. If there's a civil disturbance, so Steamboat Rock, what's your celebration? Puffer Day?
Rainsbarger Days?
Yeah. There becomes a riot of Rainsbarger Days, civil unrest, we can send that out. So there's lots of options for this.
Celebration for a thief.
Yeah.
It's like a boil order velocity, just like opening you're drinking the water. Pretty much hears it.
So I'm going to resend this out, but this is also kind of where we're going with budgeting. So what kinds of things do you look at as the Emergency Management Commission over the next 5 years? Do you think we should be putting in for budgeting? So like the 30 hours of continuing education, that's a budget item. Because when I travel to Des Moines, when I travel to, where's university, where's Okoboji?
Spirit Lake,
Spirit Lake.
Reynolds Park.
Spencer County.
That costs money. So I have to put that in that line item so we can pay for hotel. Sorry. We can pay for hotel and mileage and stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff that I want you to think about what should be in here. There's not the training. The training is going to be trying to print manuals, student manuals. And that's not cheap. I mean, I get stuff printed at Ackley Printing, but it's still not cheap to print 20 student manuals of 50 or 60 pages. And it doesn't make sense for me to try and do it on my copier and put those together when I can take it up there, professionally done, professionally bound, walk away. So look at that plan, that's our budgeting plan. And then the other document left is this document, and you have it in front of you. I have done some preliminary numbers. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just making sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if we're done with this strategic discussion, so, okay, yep, I just want to make sure I'm staying up with you here.
The budget. So with being full-time, we can bring the EMPG money in at that 24,000 some odd dollars. It has to be matched. So even at the 50,000, instead of splitting down, and so you see in here that IPERS, FICA, health insurance was all split out. We're not going to do that. It's one line item will cover the match, so there's no reason to do that much paperwork on all the others. So in here, I did that with the salary. I will take out the others. You can see they're blacked out. What I did figure in, and I don't know where the county's at this point, I've had some discussion with Renee. If I have a 2% raise, I think it's, I don't remember how that worked. 2% is $1,000 maybe, and 50 cents an hour. So it depends on how you want to do the raises. If you want to do a raise, that's entirely up to you how you want to do it. I figured in on this a 2% raise. That's typically how the county ran previously. I'm not, whatever the county comes up with for most of their employees is what I'm going to put in here. Does that make sense? I'm not going to ask you for a 5% raise.
I think that's what we've consistently kind of done in the past, is whatever the county, the board went with this.
Yeah.
We're kind of talking over here, they do some kind of a merit incentive thing in a COLA that would require an annual performance review, obviously, in advance of.
The COLA figure this year.
1.6, yeah,
It's what?
1.6%.
for cost of living.
Oh, well, yeah. I can-
I mean,
And,
we use a certain date that we check this and whatever, and
So if that's what you
checks that it
use,
was 1.6%.
so if it's 1.6, I can go
But
back
then
and
there's a
refigure the
merit
number.
increase.
But that's,
Too.
that's
Performance
just
review is
full,
merit,
but
not-
You guys never had a performance review in 6 years of doing this.
Saddle up,
You haven't
cowboy.
been here.
Okay.
Don't be excited.
1.6 is fine. No.
Well, I mean, it is fine. If that's what you come up with, that's what's fine.
But we would have to look at doing a performance review prior to.
Right.
Okay. So that's the budget. I have changed a couple of items in there, and I'm still working with the auditor trying to get the budget reports that I asked for at the end of the month, and these line items to line up. The problem has been that this is new for her. Because in years past, she never was given a line item detail so that you guys could get a monthly line item report. So that's going to change for this one and 911. That's just unacceptable. I'm not willing to spend money out here and not let you know what budgets look like and where we're at. That's both for me and for you. You answer to the citizens. We need to be able to show exactly what we have in the plans. That's why I want the 5-year plan. And then when we discuss the budget line items, it'll be written what's in that line item. The last thing in there, in the budget thing, is you will see the vehicle line in your green sheet. It should be toward the bottom. Because the vehicle costs money and because it will require a replacement, my suggestion to you is to put $6,000 a year into there and make sure that's staying in carryover so that in 5 years, you've got money to pay for another vehicle plus the trade-in, and you don't have to come up with $60,000. You come up with a little bit at a time. It doesn't make anybody's budget do this spiking thing. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So I apologize if this meeting is going really long, but that's as much as I have on any of this. The updates, I really don't have a lot of updates. This has been keeping me very busy. The vehicle thing kept Dave and I pretty busy trying to get that. There was some issues. That's about all I can say about it. But it's supposed to show up tomorrow.
It's a fiat.
I was gonna say, if it was a full show, it probably would have been.
I'm sorry?
If it was a Ford Explorer, it probably would have been.
Yeah.
A little smart car.
But when that gets here, then I'm gonna spend some time putting my equipment in it that's sitting out here in the garage, getting that all put together. And then I will be going out, since this is live, you probably are going to see me and hear me out at coffee shops. This little coffee shop over here, Love a Latte, they have like 20 or 30 ladies in there a couple of days a week. I'm gonna go over there and sit with the computer and go, hey, ladies, here's a new program.
Gotta get over there. Come look at my computer. I would encourage.
He's asking for my phone number.
You got that complaint thing up on the website. Really emphasize the hey ladies part.
I don't know how to work at the farmers and the cases. I don't know. Most of them got phone phones.
But honestly, I think if we take it back to our communities and really push it,
Oh, yeah.
They'll like it.
then
Yeah,
Pizza Ranch has a coffee group 3 times a day.
well, I know they do. And there's really no reason why I can't spend some time there, because some of these people can't figure out their phone anyway. They answer it and that's all they can do. So sitting and helping them do that.
Well, we can take it to Rotary. I usually speak there about every
Yes.
times a year.
but there might even be something, I mean, except the senior fair, things like that, where we can just
Yes.
be there available, literally, I don't know, 2 minutes.
Or the senior center, get on their agenda.
Yeah.
Senior center, no.
But you let me know ahead of time when you want to be on the,
Tired teachers are.
you want to be on the agenda.
All right,
Next meeting, yeah,
17th.
yes.
next meeting's 17th. Anything further? Thank you, everybody, for
Yeah,
involvement.
thanks
I
for-
eventually guess we might see a little bit of change of faces with the elections of January, but I don't think there's anything just so should be able to continue moving forward with people that are pretty much up to speed with what we're doing. So appreciate everybody coming tonight and all the support you've done to get us to where we're
Yeah.
finalizing this over here.
This is-
Long overdue.
This has been huge, your support in this whole process. Oh, I do have one update. Dave and I talked about it. Humboldt County has been without a coordinator for almost 6 months.
You can't quit.
They
This is,
They have requested if I could come over and help the commission look at their bylaws, look at their job description. They're talking about going to part-time. And I think that would be a bad decision. So I'm probably going to, if it's okay with, unless somebody has some real red flags, I'm going to be working with them over the next couple of months, trying to help them figured out whether they're going to go full-time or stay part-time and get figured out what they need for a coordinator. They have had one that was 85 years old. He ended up having a stroke, and then he stayed for 2 years as their coordinator, and somebody drove him around, and he sent his stuff out for somebody to type for him. Then the one they got after that was just bad. Burned bridges like nobody's business. Can't work with fire departments, law enforcement, anybody. So
I would only say,
back over. And I've looked at their bylaws, 1966.
I would say we bring their bylaws up to help assist with bringing them up to speed, much like Franklin County allowed you to come down and assist. But whether or not, if they ask, would you go full-time,
No.
part-time? But I wouldn't get into the politics.
No.
Guide them on
Right.
job description, guide them on bylaws, and
Yeah, it's,
leave it at
they
that.
want to go part-time because they don't think the job's there. But when you look at the job descriptions, especially out of 29C, there's plenty to do. So,
Don't call Dave.
I'm sorry, if you want, yeah, call me, I'll tell you what to make of it.
Well, and I think that's one of them is having the sheriff talk to the sheriff, because he's one of them that's kind of like, well, we only need part-time. Well, you may have only had part-time, but what you should have is,
Anything further? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Williams. Second by Diggs. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Same sign. We are adjourned.
well, 3 years, Ken.